going to start his first NFL game in San Francisco this weekend, and he's going to have his first W as well. Now, I want to tell you a couple things here. I want to put this on video because everyone else seems to be missing the boat on what has transpired here. Let us not forget that the Steelers traded up in the draft, technically. I think it was to 76 for Rudolph, and paired him with his longtime receiver, who they also drafted in that draft. In addition to that, they had a quarterback, Josh Dobbs, that a lot of people had crowned the heir apparent. I never thought he was going to be the quarterback of the Steelers going forward. Matter of fact, the Steelers didn't believe that either. And this is why I'm actually making the video in the first place. My thought is that the Steelers knew Ben Roethlisberger was injured in the preseason. I saw him throw against New England. He wasn't right. The Steelers knew he wasn't right, at least in the New England game. Don't tell me the first time they found out about the arm was when he was failing miserably in the second game, a game they should have won against Seattle at home. But Ben was playing terribly. His arm was hurt, clearly, but his arm was also hurt in the first game, which leads me to believe he probably hurt it in preseason. The Steelers knew there was something wrong with the arm. Maybe they didn't know it was career-threatening or at least season-ending, but they knew there was an issue. But yet, they immediately traded Josh Dobbs away, I think for like a 6th-round pick or 5th round. Whatever it is, it was less than what they got Dobbs for. Now, knowing full well that your starting quarterback has a major injury and you trade away your third, leads me to believe one thing. You, the quarterback you just put over that quarterback, Mason Rudolph, was going to actually start fairly soon, and you didn't want there to be a quarterback controversy. So you got rid of the only thing that could get in Mason Rudolph's way of taking that team over going forward, and that was Josh Dobbs. So they got him out the back door as quickly as possible. Let's not forget. And they left themselves with no backup because they knew Rudolph was going to take over and Ben was out for the season. So they went from 3 quarterbacks and they knew they were going down to 1 quarterback fairly quickly. Only reason you're doing that is because you want Rudolph to be successful as the starting quarterback. Here is my take on what's going to happen this weekend. Mason Rudolph is going to have an outstanding game. The Steelers are going to win I'm going to say 37-27, maybe even a wider margin than that. Maybe 35-20. And why are they going to do that? Well, first of all, everyone keeps talking about San Fran's up and rising defense. Well, the Steelers have 10 first-round selections on their D, and they've been playing great as individual athletes, but failing as a team. That coalesces this weekend in San Fran. Jimmy G is going to have one hell of a day, and he's going to get pummeled. He's going to get destroyed, actually, and he'll be intercepted, I'm going to say 3 times, 2 at a minimum, but I'm going to go with 3 times, sacked 4 to 5 times. And unlike last week, where the Steelers were crushing Seattle in the first half and Seattle came out and made a lot of halftime adjustments and the Steelers failed to do so, I don't think they have the luxury to do that anymore. I think they're going to make the halftime adjustments, or Keith Butler's going to get fired, and maybe before the end of the season. I was never happy with him as the defensive coordinator. I felt like he got the job because he was buddies with Tomlin, and same with the OC, by the way. But he hasn't failed me yet. The DC, I think, has set a track record of underperforming. If we get one more first-round pick on defense, we will literally have an entire starting defense of first-round draft picks. And if you're not top 5 or top 3 at least with that, you're underperforming. That's what you are. So I think they're going to perform incredibly well this weekend. I think the Steelers play very well with their backs to the wall. I still think they're going to win the division, if not make the playoffs. And I think the Steelers, as an organization, truly believe that. I think they believe that if Ben Roethlisberger does get better next year, they're going to tell him either retire or we're trading you because you're worth something. I truly believe, and that's the real reason I'm making this video and putting it out here before this Sunday's game, Mason Rudolph is the quarterback of the future. Ben Roethlisberger's thrown his last pass as an NFL quarterback. And if Ben Roethlisberger does play again, like I said, the only way he's playing is he agrees to be traded. The Steelers will trade him to any team he wants to be. He'll either go to Arizona, like all ex-Steelers, or he'll pull a Brett Favre and go to Cincinnati. And of course, he'll lose there because Cincinnati is not Minnesota, one quarterback away from going to the Super Bowl. They are, in fact, Cincinnati, the Bungles. So if he does that, it's going to be a miserable failure. But I could see him retiring out to Arizona, but they have a quarterback now, so maybe that's not it. It's his last throw as an NFL quarterback, and I think he'll have a fabulous post-NFL career, of course. I just don't want to see him in another uniform, though I don't really care because I'm a Steeler fan, more so than I am a fan of any individual Steeler. But to wrap it up, Mason Rudolph is the quarterback for the next 10 years. He is going to be the draft steal of the last 10 years. My thought was when he was drafted, I was absolutely shocked a quarterback of that talent, both physically and mentally. And by the way, I'm not just stating that on his college career, the highlights I saw, but watching that game, when he was thrust into that game, a moment's notice. First of all, the interception was not anywhere near his fault. That was like a pathetic Cincinnati Bengal receiver catch outside of A.J. Green. And so that was intercepted. And you know what? That even shows how good of a quarterback he is, how much better he is. The fact that he was able to rebound from that interception and throw 2 touchdowns. Now, the most important part of his touchdown throws, or all of his throws, and what I mark as a great quarterback, is his ability to add or subtract speed to a pass. That's the mark of an incredible quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, or Aaron Rodgers, they are the quintessential quarterbacks when you think about this, is the ability to just take the arm and slow it down, and then the pass almost comes out and just lofts, but the arm almost doesn't change in motion. So it's like a change-up, and hitting that receiver in stride, or to be able to bend the arm and throw sideways or sidearm, or contort the body and throw at an angle. When I watched Mason throw that touchdown, that second one, and he seamed it right to the tight end, that pass, he took a little bit off of it, and it went right into his hands. And McDonald took that right in. And I was thinking, wow, that was a pass from a guy that's been playing in the league for 5 years. That wasn't a guy who's only thrown 5 passes, but it was. And that is, tip your hat to Mason Rudolph, because he just showed you that he has those innate skills that separate the good quarterbacks from the great quarterbacks. And the fact that he was able to rebound from an interception, come into a game cold, so those are 2 things, and then be able to make those throws that only a couple of the quarterbacks in the NFL can make. There's not a lot of them. And he was making them in his first game, unscripted. And from what I hear, that flea flicker, he never even practiced that himself in practice. I think he just watched Roethlisberger practice that. So the fact that he can actually go to the well, do a trick play, now that's 4 things he could do in his first game, not even having reps as a starter. Comes in, trick play, successful. Rebounds from an INT, successfully. Throws touchdowns, leads drives successfully. Okay, rallies the team. He was successful in that. The defense was giving up 3rd and 16s. Sorry, there is no quarterback that can stem the bleeding from a gash that big. Okay, the Steelers defense surrendered that game, and again, that falls on the defensive coordinator, Keith Butler, who I am not a big fan of. You know, Keith, I mean, I don't know how many first-rounders you need on your team. 10 is all you're going to get on the defense for right now. If we need to actually get you 11, we need to get you a new job.